Hey everyone, BlockchainBernie here with episode 403. Solana Treasury companies. It all started with Bitcoin Treasury companies. We now see other and also a big trend, Solana Treasury companies. And this video is about, you might wonder, is that a big opportunity for Solana or is it more like a threat? And that's a very good question. And we'll dive into the details today in this little video here. And when you walk away after this short video, you will understand the history of these treasury companies. Why have they been formed? Will they actually go short when they think a peak has been reached in a cycle? And what does this all Solana Treasury company trend mean for us? All right, so let's just dive into the details here. And I've prepared a little list for you here with Bitcoin treasury companies, right? And for Bitcoin, I mean, let's look here, right? Better Crypto, that's an article from the Motley Fool, 2 days old, September 23rd. It's about the Better Crypto buy, Bitcoin versus strategy, which is, formerly called MicroStrategy. So MicroStrategy, that has been founded by a guy named Michael Saylor, and you find Michael Saylor everywhere on the internet. He's almost like a celebrity. He is a celebrity in the crypto world, definitely. And, he is like, okay, guys, why do anything? Why actually get money to work? Just store it in Bitcoin because it's a store of value. And then that's the best thing to do. And then he has a company. The company has the purpose of raising money, both equity and debt, and then buy more Bitcoin from that. So that way you have a leveraged instrument to you can invest in a leveraged way into Bitcoin. So that means when Bitcoin rises 10%, that MicroStrategy will rise 25%, something like that, right? Depending on the leverage factor. I think it's about like that, like a 2.5x or something, through that leverage, right? Because he has taken on debt to buy more Bitcoin, basically, with debt. And so that is the strategy of these. I laugh because the company is now called Strategy. It was called MicroStrategy, and it's all about buying Bitcoin, and it's a treasury company. And Michael Saylor was wildly successful with it, right? He raised a lot of money from investors, equity from investors. He was able to get debt financing to buy even more Bitcoin. And the whole thing has been wildly successful, even though, as we saw here, after hitting a 52-week high of 543 in November 2024, now, almost a year later, we're just at 335. But, still from where he started, it's been wildly successful. So there are a lot of people out there that think like, okay, if Bitcoin treasury companies are so successful, if it's such a great means of, raising money and growing and everything, why not mimic that, right? So there are a lot of Bitcoin treasury companies, and I wanted to show you some here. The Bitcoin treasury companies, we list them here, right? So there are a lot. It's MicroStrategy, now only called Strategy, right? Holds 632,000 BTC. Then we have Marathon Digital, we have 21 Capital, we have Riot Platforms, we have Bullish, we have Metaplanet, Tokyo listed. Well, they even list Tesla here because they bought some Bitcoin. I wouldn't call them a Bitcoin treasury company. And it's just 0.05% of Bitcoin that they had. Block, of course, is big there. That's the company controlled by the founder, the original founder of Twitter, Jack Dorsey. Coinbase, of course, holds a lot. So there are a lot of these Bitcoin companies, and MicroStrategy, again, it has been a big success factor for Michael Saylor to kind of convert his company that was doing other things before, right? And then he just like, why actually work? Just buy Bitcoin, right? And get other people's money to be able to buy more Bitcoin. So those are the Bitcoin treasury companies. And the way I explained it right now, it must have dawned on you that there is some merit to it, but there are definitely a lot of risks also associated with it. And I will go into these risks later in this video, but I want to show you now how that trend actually made its way into the Solana universe, and how we have so many Solana treasury companies right now. So let's look at this little thing here. So we have a DeFi Development Corp that was already in April 2025. That's a smaller one, I believe. Oh, not really a smaller one, holds $500 million in Sol. Then we have Bitmining Limited. August 5th. It was started on August 5th, so last month. Announced strategic shift to Solana ecosystem. That seems a smaller one right now. $5 million in Sol. Plans up to $300 million raise for future Sol acquisitions. Then we have Sharps Technology, August 25th. That's a medical firm that raised $400 million private placement backed by Parify Pantera. So Pantera is a big name in financing Solana companies. Falcon X to build a Solana Treasury. Positions as one of the largest holders, focuses on staking and ecosystem yield. So that's relatively recent, about 1 month ago, right? Then, less than 1 month ago, right, like 2 weeks ago, Forward Industries, FORD. So they were listed on the stock exchange, and they raised $1.65 billion in a PIPE, and I'll explain what a PIPE is in a moment, led by Multicoin Capital. That's the biggest Solana, the largest Solana venture capital company, founded and run by Kyle Samani, Galaxy Digital, and Jump Crypto, also a big name in Solana sphere. They acquired 6.8 million Sol. So that's, 1.6, almost $1.6 billion. They are the world's largest Solana treasury now. Active management via staking, DeFi, tokenizing its own stock dividends on Solana, followed by 4 billion ATM offering. So a PIPE is a private investment in public equity, right? So that means they have private investors, in this case, Multicoin Capital, and Kyle Samani himself invested $25 million also into this thing. And it is the largest Solana treasury. So one thing I have with all these treasury companies is like, crypto is crazy volatile. We just need to observe that as it is. It is crazy volatile, and it'll likely stay like that, just because there's no with many things, there's no real value that's being created. So it's unlike a stock where you have a real company behind it and stuff like that. So it's mainly based on cycles, how the valuation will be done, right? So that means these companies, these cryptos, Bitcoin and especially Solana as an altcoin, are crazy volatile. Prices tend to go in cycles. They tend to go up, and they also tend to go down. And I'm not sure, and they haven't publicized anything whether they will actually go short on Sol when they think the peak of a cycle has been reached. I don't think they will, and most of them won't, because they have that bullish thesis on Solana, but there's a lot of volatility in there, and when you put in leverage, the volatility will be even higher, right? And while that is fine for some people, if they say like, okay, I want high alpha, right? High alpha means a high, upwards trend, right? In general of that thing. And if that means high beta for me, like a lot of ups and downs, that might be fine for some people in some situations, right? I have seen people that just put something in some retirement account, and they just did it on, I don't know, by accident or something like that. It was tax-free. It was maybe a Roth IRA or something, and they thought like, well, this money is kind of play money. They don't need it, right? It's like it made its way into that account, and they just use it as a high-risk play thing, right? And of course, that means if you do that, for many of those guys, it'll go to zero because they play high risk, right? But it also means for some that they become really, really wealthy. So there's one guy named Emmett Peppers out there, used to be an employee of Interactive Brokers, but he did just that, and he publicized all his statements of that retirement account that he had, and he went up to. And I think he was someone in the early days, 2012, 13, 14, he was buying Tesla call options, right? And then at some point in 2018, 2019, when the Model 3 came out, Tesla stock exploded, right? And he was down on his portfolio for many, many years because the Tesla stock didn't do anything for years and years until Model 3 came out. And he had all these call options, and then basically overnight he became like a 2-figure, 3-figure millionaire, right? And he stopped his job at Interactive Brokers and is very active on X, on Twitter now, and a very smart guy, and you get a lot of good information from him. So usually these treasury companies, they don't go short, so that means there's crazy amounts of volatility in there. You just need to be aware of that, right? So then there's a company called Soulmate. Man, they stole the Zandium name for our Soulmate liquid staking feature. Okay, I didn't protect the name, so they're fine. They can call themselves Soulmate. September 18th, just a week ago. Sports holding company rebranded and pivoted to 300 million Solana Treasury. So what they usually do is they go to publicly listed companies that are struggling, right? Companies that would probably regret being listed at all because it's a lot of expenses each and every year. And rather than delisting that company, they kind of marry together that other company that wants to form a Solana Treasury and this old company, and they just rebrand it. And then for the new ones that want to form their own Solana Treasury, they don't have to go through an IPO process and all these types of things. They just, insert themselves into a company, a struggling company that's already listed, right? So that's how they do it. That's a new trend, I feel, almost like those SPACs that we had a few years ago. It's a new trend to just get listed, and it's to me it's also sad to watch that, listing a company and stuff like that. Such high hurdles in the United States and such high expenses that I personally don't like that, right? It should be easier to get listed, and in crypto it is easier, right? So if you can do it in crypto anyway, what's all the purpose of all these SEC regulations for getting listed. But, you know, this is the latest trend here, how folks are circumventing it, right? And just inserting themselves into a company that's already listed. And then last not least, there is Helios Medical Technologies, just a week old. They raised 500 million. Yeah, so they are 1/3 of the Ford thing, right? So we had Ford here, Forward Industries, led by Multicoin, Kyle Samani, and it seems like you know, Mert, the founder of Helios, didn't want to to you know, give the market, hand the market over to Forward. So so he partnered with different venture capital companies, acquired 760,000 SOL, and has some cash for more, focuses on staking and DeFi, stock up 250% post-announcement. So there is that proliferation of Solana Treasury companies out there, and we have the Bitcoin Treasury companies also. Let me tell you a little bit more about so by the way, Helios Medical, yeah, that's here. It used to be Helios Medical, and Mert has that other company that's called Helios on Solana also. So they kind of merged the two brands together, and now Helios Medical has rebranded to just Helios, a Solana company. So it's funny to watch all that. And then we have Forward Industries here. So that's the largest one that I talked about. And we have that other guy here named Michael Turpin. Michael Turpin is, and I watched him speak live in Chicago like 2 weeks ago. Very nice guy, very intelligent guy. And he wrote books about the Bitcoin super cycle. So he's, you know, one of the biggest like Bitcoin gurus out there. And he is starting a Bitcoin treasury as well. You know, how could he not? And I was in the audience, so I asked the question. They gave me the mic, and I said, "Hey, Michael, you talked about that Bitcoin cycle, that super cycle, right? So it's all about, it's that 4-year cycle related to the halving of the Bitcoin price, right? The halving of the Bitcoin rewards for mining. So I asked him, hey, Michael, you talked about that super cycle, and do you then actually go short in your upcoming fund, upcoming, you know, Bitcoin treasury company? Do you actually go short when you think the peak of the cycle has been reached? And he said yes. He said yes. So that's great, I believe. But all the other treasury companies, I don't think they do that. And I think that's a problem because, yes, we all know that crypto is coming in cycles. I mean, stocks are coming in cycles also. The cycles in crypto, as for now, they have been quite predictable, you know, and driven by the halving cycle of the Bitcoin rewards, Bitcoin mining rewards. So it has been relatively predictable. But who knows whether it's going to be like that. The effect of the halving cycle is getting less and less and less each and every cycle. And Michael Turpin showed that at his speech where I was present in person. So, and my personal opinion is maybe the effect is not going to be there at all in the future. And we have like cycles driven by something that are hard to predict, right? But as of now, I still believe the cycle in crypto is pretty much there. Everyone says like, how high can this token come in this cycle? Everyone thinks like we are going to have an altcoin season for the rest of this year, maybe into early next year, and we will see if that is true. Oftentimes when everyone's predicting it, history shows that it will not come. So that's my experience from the past, but we don't know. There is a symbol, by the way, called Bitcoin dominance, BTC.D. So you can all track it in your trading view or wherever. Bitcoin dominance sits at 59% or something. So once it goes below 54%, and it has come down, of course, the past few months and years, so it might go below 54, and that's usually when altcoin season starts. So we have all that, and you know, Michael Turpin, he will go short on Bitcoin once, you know, once he thinks the top of the cycle has been reached, and his prediction is the top of Bitcoin is in November this year. So maybe Bitcoin dominance will only go down to below 54% maybe early next year. Maybe we see alt season delayed next year. Who knows? But, you know, would I invest into any of these treasury companies? Not with a major amount. You know, I tried a small amount with MetaPlanet. That's the Japanese one that was trying to mimic the MicroStrategy in Bitcoin. It hasn't gone well because I invested at the very top, but I'm still holding them. But it was a small amount just to test it out. In general, is that a great investment for, you know, increasing your wealth? No, right? It has high volatility. It has even higher volatility than the underlying crypto, whether it's Bitcoin or whether it's Solana or whether it's ETH, right? High volatility, you know, if you do it with really larger amounts, if you do it for, you know, creating wealth for your retirement or for whatever, right? And preserving your wealth, high volatility is not great. It might be great if you're, you know, if you're early in your life and you say like, okay, I have decades to wait, and if it goes down 90%, I'll just wait it out. That's what I did with my Sol, of course, when it went down 96% in 2022. And it has been fine, right? But it has turned out fine, obviously, with Sol at about 200 right now. Yeah, but as for, you know, investing into growing your wealth, preserving your wealth, if those are your goals, those treasury companies are definitely not for you. And none of this, of course, is financial advice. This is just some general observations of the market. And yeah, but you know, I think some direct crypto investments are great for everyone, and just be aware that it's high volatility, high risk. Don't invest, you know, crazy amounts of crazy shares of your net worth into crypto. Maybe like 5%. 10% would be already aggressive, I would say. Also, depending on your goals and age and everything. Yeah, but these treasury companies, I'm not sure. You know, my gut feeling right now is they are also a threat because it's leverage. And recently someone asked on X, what's the biggest risk in crypto right now? And Toli, the founder of Solana, he responded leverage, right? And leverage always is a big risk, and I can say that out of experience. I had an experience about 2008 where, you know, I had some leverage in my stock portfolio, and it was almost completely wiped out, right? So there was a little bit left, and what was left, I basically invested in Apple stock, which has like 30x since then, right? So it was still okay. It still turned out okay. Maybe if there wasn't the wipeout, I've never invested in Apple. Who knows? So maybe my portfolio would even be worth less today if I didn't have the wipeout. You never know, right? But leverage is a big risk, and this big trend here in all these treasury companies, both in Bitcoin and in Solana. I'm not the big skeptic for anything. I'm not a skeptical person. I'm kind of like super optimistic for most of these days. But, I'll look at these treasury companies with some concern here, right? I wouldn't buy them in any larger amounts. And, I feel like if anything happens to crypto, it'll accelerate the demise then, or the decline, right? So if we're at some peak of a cycle and then something breaks and prices go down because of these treasury companies, they are leveraged. So if they're leveraged, they need to get out there, right? So they need to sell, and it accelerates all the price decline then when that happens. I'm watching Michael Turpin. So if he does something there and actually goes short on Bitcoin when he thinks the top of the cycle is reached, that might be great. Although he had some numbers, right? Like in the first halving cycle, the effect was like 10,000%. And in the second halving cycle, it was like 300%. And in the third, it was 80%. And in the fourth, he expects like 23%. So what does that mean? In the fifth halving cycle, there will be no effect anymore, because we will be in a plus minus 10% range. That all that stuff is fluctuating anyway, just by daily noise, right? And that's how Bitcoin is designed, right? It's like most of the Bitcoin has been mined anyway, right? There's not that many, So even, surfing that cycle, going long when it's going up, going short when it's going down, even that might not be a long-term great strategy. It might be one in this fourth halving cycle that we're in. Again, that's Michael Turpin here. Great guy. Yeah, so this was my deep dive on all these treasury companies. Again, I'm not all too welcoming these, right? On the other hand, they are companies that buy, right? They buy a lot. So they are driving up prices as for now. So that's great. Yeah. But it won't be like that forever, guys. It just won't, right? When something happens in the market, prices go down, driven by whatever, these treasury companies will accelerate it, right? So the crash will be worse. Any crash is inevitable, right? There are crashes from time to time in crypto, in the stock market, everywhere, right? It's not a question, will a crash come? It's just a question on when will it come? When will the next crash come? And nobody knows, of course, right? Michael Turpin always says, I know, it's the super cycle. It's 4 years. It's driven by halving. Yeah, maybe. But, now everyone's talking about halving. All traders know about halving. So the tendency we see is like, if there's a pattern that forms out that, is like there all the time, and everyone knows about it and everyone expects it, that pattern will just vanish. So that's just human behavior. So I'm not sure about that super cycle in the future. I'm happy Michael Turpin says, oh, it's diminishing, right? It's, as I said, with these numbers there, it's probably still there. And we're in a cycle. We're in a bull cycle. And let's see where it takes us, right? Usually at some point we have like a melt up, right? We have like something where it goes up really, really, really steep before it goes down, right? And we had that even in the 2000 .com bubble, right? We had that big melt up, and everything went up like crazy, and it went down just as fast shortly after that. So yeah, so these are the treasury companies. Great that they're all there. Great that they're buying a lot of Sol and a lot of Bitcoin. yeah, and just watch them. You know, I might do a few updates here on how they're going. And you know, this is something where I really would love to discuss things with you. So what do you think about these treasury companies? Are they mostly an opportunity for Sol and for Bitcoin in that cases, or are they mostly a threat? And you know, there's no science about that, right? It's more like a personal judgment and a personal gut feeling here. And I would love to know your opinion there. Also, what I'm asking you is give me a like on this video if you liked it. It's always a lot of work to do these things. I've been doing this consistently each and every week. So please give me your like. And yeah, this is a live stream. So I had some live messages while I was talking. Let me go into these. We have Bean Sprouts. We have Sasha. Hello, Bernie. Hello, Sasha. We have Peter. I swapped my Sol to CYFRD some weeks ago, and now I'm minus negative 70% on STKE. Not very good. Yeah. Yeah. That I think that supports what I said in this video, right? There's Y Metro there, Michael, hi all, Thomas Kershbaumer, Freedombird, Solana Coin ECTA, where is that? Downtrade. Yeah, I haven't heard of ECTA. I have to be honest here. Don't know what it is. Y Metro, good buying opportunity for ECTA. Yeah, again, I don't know that coin. Leverage magnifies volatility. Absolutely, Y Metro, right? And again, it depends, right? I've been fine with crazy volatility, and you know, I didn't really suffer much when I saw my Sol going down 96% in, when was that, late 22 or early 23 or something. I made videos there and I recommended people to buy Sol at $11, and I bought as well. But it depends on whether it fits your goals and whether it fits your situation in life, right? And yeah, if you don't have much to lose, put it that way, right? And I've been in these situations a lot of times in my life, then it's fine to have that volatility. If you also have a chance to win a lot, right? And I know that from lotteries. It's mostly people that don't have much money that play the lottery from the last few bucks they have because it gives them a chance, right? And if you want to do that, that's perfectly fine, but you need to understand that it's a volatility risk. And if you have some wealth that you could lose, and you know, you don't want to lose it maybe because you're at some stage and you can't really afford to lose it because you're in some stage in your life where you just can't afford to lose it, then better stay away from these high volatility games, right? It all depends on your goals and your personal situation, and I can't give you any advice on that, of course. Peter Mahala, interested in BTC.D, search for Ben Cowan. He's the one for sure. Or watch today's NFA live show, recommended. Okay. Thomas Kirschbaumer, will there be an advantage for early investors who are Xeno NFT holders in the XFDP program? And you know, I can't think about Zandium and these tokens in this little video because, you know, this video is about the Solana Treasury companies. It's not supposed to be. It's not that I don't want to answer it, but I just can't think about that right now. Maybe repost it on Discord or something. And then, yeah, this is live. Yeah. This is a live video, so thanks for all your comments there. And again, you know, my videos have been at noon. They used to be at noon Pacific time on Thursdays. I'm changing that to 3 hours earlier, right? So as you saw with this one, I'm doing it at 9 a.m. Pacific time. That's noon Eastern, and it's 1800 in Central Europe. So 6 p.m. So that should be great for anyone. That's a time that YouTube told me most of my viewers are online. So that's one of the reasons I shifted it. The other reason is there are important Solana events at 11 o'clock on Thursdays that I don't want to miss. So yeah, moving this to 9 a.m. I hope it's great for everyone. Effective immediately, as you saw with this one. But for today, thanks so much for watching, guys.